Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, we are jumping right into 1140 today. It's the height of the anarchy in England, that really brutal civil war between Empress Matilda and King Stephen.
Yeah, a real mess.
And we've got, well, a stack of material here centered on this medieval mystery from Shrewsbury Abbey. But this isn't just a simple murder. It's actually a political assassination that almost everyone, including the killer's own family, totally misunderstood. They thought it was a domestic scandal.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's our mission for this deep dive. We're basically tracing the connections between this very reluctant novice monk, super traumatized,
Right.
a diplomatic clerk who just vanishes, and then this stunning act of treason. You need to frame this right off the bat. In a time like the anarchy, political instability, loyalty becomes this incredibly confusing, dangerous thing.
Like a maze, yeah.
Exactly. People mistake who they're protecting, why they're doing it, and it turns what's really a crime of state into this self-destructive family tragedy.
And the absolute center of that tragedy is this young novice, Meriet Aspley. He shows up at the Abbey, he's only 19, and seems desperate, absolutely desperate to become a monk.
Mm-hmm.
But the source material, it gives us these fascinating kind of conflicting details about him. He's described as excessively dutiful, okay? But then it also focuses on the deep, firm hollows at the corners of a mouth, full-lipped and passionate.
Suggestive.
Right. He wants the quiet life, the cloister, but we're also told he's basically wild by nature, not someone easily tamed.
Yeah, he's clearly a young man running from something, or maybe from himself. He's educated, healthy, a noble son, technically the perfect recruit for the religious life, right?
You'd think so.
But his commitment, it feels forced. And the father, Meriet Aspley, is this very severe, kind of old school baron type, seems really cold about Meriet's choice, only going along with it because he feels he has to.
So the cloister should be a refuge, but for Meriet, it sounds more like a prison, maybe sealing off some horrible secret.
And you see that secret, that horrible past, almost immediately trying to fight its way out. The Abbey gets its first massive red flag during the apple harvest. There's this clumsy novice, Brother Wulfstan, who accidentally falls onto a sickle. He's okay, but there's a lot of blood.
Okay.
And Meriet's reaction is just catastrophic. The text says he recoils like a shot horse. His face just collapses into the clay stillness of death, and his eyes look like green glass with no flame behind them.
Wow. That's not just being squeamish about blood. That sounds like trauma.
Exactly. Deep prior trauma connected to sudden violence, to blood. He's trying to escape the world, but his own senses are dragging him right back to whatever horror he experienced. Or maybe committed.
It's an incredible image, like seeing PTSD described back in 1140. And this inner turmoil, it leads pretty quickly to his first real infraction at the Abbey.
Right.
He gets caught hiding a secular treasure, which is a big no-no, violates the vow of poverty. It's a linen ribbon embroidered with blue and gold and tied with a lock of reddish gold hair.
And when he's challenged about it, he doesn't even deny its sentimental value. He just snaps that the owner, this woman Roswitha, is spoken for. Turns out she's his older brother Nigel's fiancée.
Ooh, okay. Complicated.
Very. And he absolutely refuses to give up the ribbon, calls the challenge impudence. So he can deny himself property, maybe, but he can't let go of this physical connection to the outside world, to Roswitha, or maybe to whatever sorrow is tied up in that ribbon.
And trying to bury this secret, it's clearly not working. Especially at night. The other novices start calling him the devil's novice because of the disturbances in the dormitory.
Yeah, we hear about bellowings, these loud, tormented cries of no, 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 and just constant shrieks of blood.
Yeah.
He's trying so hard to lock his past away in the monastery.
But it's literally screaming its way out of him in his sleep.
Exactly. So that's the internal situation, this powder keg ready to blow. Now, let's bring in the external spark, the political conflict that's really driving this whole story.
Right. So enter Peter Clements. He's a cleric, sent by Bishop Henry of Blois. And just to remind everyone, Henry of Blois is King Stephen's own brother, a hugely powerful political figure in this period.
And that context is absolutely crucial. Clements is on a diplomatic mission heading north towards Chester and the Earl of Rumere, another powerful player. The point is, Henry of Blois is likely trying to shore up support for his brother, King Stephen, or maybe negotiate some tricky alliance.
So Clements' mission is high stakes. It could potentially expose or even sabotage secret plots brewing up north.
Precisely. And he stops for the night, September 8th, at Meriet's family home, Aspley Manor.
He leaves Aspley safely the next morning, apparently, but then he just vanishes somewhere between Shrewsbury and wherever he was headed next. The initial search finds nothing.
Nothing until days later. His horse, this distinctive bay horse called Barbary, is found. It's wandering riderless near the northern Keat Hags, miles away, but crucially on the correct road towards Chester.
The horse on the right road, but no rider.
Yeah, it suggests foul play, obviously, but at first it makes everyone look north for the body.
So with the horse is brought back to the Abbey stables, Meriet is called in to identify it.
And he recognizes the horse and its expensive harness instantly. There's this tiny flash of pride, apparently, when he confirms, "It was I stabled and groomed and tended him that night. I am good with horses."
A little spark of the old Meriet?
Maybe. But it's immediately swamped by this wave of fear. He asks, "Where did you find Barbary?" He knows, everyone knows, a lone horse, richly saddled like that, during the anarchy. It means the worst for the rider.
And the worst is confirmed eventually, though the location just throws everyone off. The body isn't found up north near where the horse was. It's found at an old charcoal burner's hearth, south of Aspley Manor, miles off the cleric's planned route.
Way off route. And the victim was killed by an arrow clean through the ribs. Then the body was built into a new stack of charcoal, clearly meant to be completely incinerated, gone without a trace.
But the fire didn't take properly. The plan failed.
Only partially. Enough remained. But now we look at the evidence found with the body, and this is where the story shifts away from just, random violence. Hugh Beringar, he's the deputy sheriff investigating.
No.
He finds the body was not robbed.
Ah, so the valuables were still there.
Yes. This is the key forensic clue. The priest's cross, his expensive ring, even silver shoe buckles, they were all still there. Damaged by the fire, sure, but present.
So not highwaymen. They would have taken everything.
Exactly. Foot pads, bandits, they strip a body clean. This suggests something else.
Wait, but if the valuables are left, what does that tell the authorities back then? Wouldn't a killer who's worried about being caught just take the stuff anyway, maybe to confuse the motive, make it look like a robbery?
Not necessarily someone with a certain mindset. Someone high-minded or operating under some kind of internalized code of honor, even while committing murder. The source actually notes this implies the act was carried out by someone in authority, or at least someone who would not permit theft, though it had been forced to conceal murder.
So willing to kill and cover it up, but drawing the line at stealing. That's odd.
It raises the stakes immediately. This isn't just a common crime. It smells official or political.
Yet the local authorities, they grab the easiest explanation first, right? There's this runaway farrier, Harold, described as starving, practically skeletal. He's caught nearby, and he's carrying the dead man's dagger.
Right, an elegant, rich man's dagger, blackened by the fire.
Looks pretty open and shut. Poor thief kills a rich traveler.
Seems that way. And Hugh Beringar, the sheriff, he's smart. He lets the false story spread that the killer's been caught, maybe to see who reacts.
And it works, because this lie is exactly what triggers Meriet's big move, his sacrifice.
Yes. Meriet is basically confined to the Abbey infirmary at this point. He had a fall, which apparently aggravated some painful pre-existing injuries in his limbs. He hears about Harold's arrest.
And he knows Harold is innocent, at least of this particular crime.
He must assume Harold is innocent. And he realizes he cannot let another man hang for a crime. Meriet believes someone in his own family committed. Likely his brother, Nigel, given the ribbon connection to Roswitha.
So he confesses.
He confesses. In stark, agonizing detail, apparently, to Brother Mark, one of the senior monks. He says, "It was I who killed Peter Clements. I shot him down in the woods. I'm sorry, so to shame my father's house. He's ready to die."
He's ready to face execution to save Harold, and in his mind, to protect whoever he thinks is the real killer in his family.
But Brother Mark, he immediately suspects something's wrong. He realizes the confession, detailed as it is, feels constructed, like a lie.
But why? Why not just accept the confession? Try to get Meriet absolution, maybe save his soul even if he hangs.
Because the lie has two major flaws. One is physical, about the timing. Meriet claims the murder happened mid-afternoon, but witnesses confirm Clements left Aspley Manor early that morning. The timeline doesn't work.
Okay, that's a big hole.
A huge hole. But the second flaw, the spiritual one, is the absolute proof for Mark. He reports to Hugh Beringar that Meriet resolutely refused then and refuses still to repeat that confession to a priest.
Ah, that's it, isn't it? That's the core of Meriet's strange loyalty.
Precisely.
He's willing to die disgraced, killed by the secular law, but he absolutely draws the line at lying to God in confession.
Exactly. Mark figures it out. He can lie to me and to you, but he will not lie to his confessor, and through his confessor to God. Meriet is willing to make the ultimate earthly sacrifice, lose his life, his reputation, maybe even his standing with the community, all to protect his family. But he will not commit what he sees as a mortal sin, lying directly to God through the sacrament of confession.
That reveals his core integrity, ironically, and proves he didn't do it.
It makes him innocent of the murder, yes, though guilty of attempting a massive sacrificial deception.
So if Meriet is covering for someone else, presumably his brother Nigel, who actually did it, the truth finally comes out spectacularly during what should have been a happy family occasion.
Right, the wedding. Of his brother, Nigel Aspley, and Roswitha Lindy, the woman whose hair was tied in that ribbon.
It's the perfect setting, isn't it? The ultimate symbol of family unity becomes the stage for exposing the ultimate family betrayal. Meriet's secretly brought to witness the proceedings, and the key observer is Aspley.
Meriet's childhood friend, devoted to him. And she's the one who previously confirmed that the reddish gold hair in Meriet's hidden ribbon belonged to Roswitha.
Okay, so Asuta's there, and Roswitha arrives at the wedding.
Wearing this magnificent large ring brooch pinned to her cloak, and Asuta recognizes it instantly.
Wow.
Because she had actually handled Peter Clemence's cloak the night he stayed at Aspley Manor. She remembers the brooch clearly. And crucially, she tells Hugh Beringar, the brooch Roswitha is wearing is bright and perfect. It shows 0 signs of fire damage.
Unlike the other jewels found on the body.
Exactly. Unlike the cross, the ring, the buckles. This is the physical evidence that just blows the case wide open. Canon Elward confirms the brooch belonged to Clemence.
So Hugh Beringar realizes immediately.
He gets it. The brooch must have been removed from Clemence's cloak before the body was put in the charcoal stack to be burned. The implication is just staggering.
Someone involved in the murder or the immediate cover-up took this valuable, identifiable brooch and gave it to Roswitha.
Yes, and Roswitha completely panics when confronted. She tries to blame Meriet, hysterically claiming he somehow visited her while he was supposedly locked up in the abbey and gave her the brooch as a gift.
That's impossible, right?
Totally impossible. And that's when Meriet Aspley, the stern father, finally steps in. He breaks his silence, reveals his own guilt in the cover-up after the fact, and in doing so, completely clears Meriet of the murder itself.
How does he do that?
Meriet interrupts Roswitha's lie. He testifies that Meriet had been held as a close prisoner, basically under lock and key, ever since the moment Meriet himself found Meriet trying to hide Clemence's body in the woods.
Wait, Meriet found Meriet with the body?
Yes. And Meriet, in this profound, tragic failure of judgment, immediately assumed his troubled younger son, Meriet, must be the killer. So Meriet locked Meriet up and forced him towards the monastery, all to protect the family name from the scandal he thought Meriet had caused.
Oh, wow. So Meriet's actions were based on a completely wrong assumption about which son was guilty.
Completely wrong. Once Meriet proves Meriet couldn't possibly have visited Roswitha, she just collapses into hysterics and screams out the name of the actual killer, her own brother, Janin Lind.
Janin Lind, not Nigel Aspley.
Janin Lind pulled the trigger, and the motive is finally revealed. High treason. Just as the unrobbed body hinted, it turns out Janin Lind and Nigel Aspley, Meriet's brother, and the bridegroom were co-conspirators.
Both of them.
Both involved in a plot connected to the powerful William of Rumere, the Earl of Lincoln, likely against King Stephen.
So Peter Clemence's diplomatic mission to Chester
was a direct threat. It would have exposed their conspiracy at a critical moment. So Janin ambushed him, shot him with an arrow to silence him. Nigel then seems to have rushed in afterward, panicked, tried to hide the body, and that's when his father, Meriet, stumbled upon him.
And Meriet jumped to the wrong conclusion, assuming Meriet was covering for himself. Not that Nigel was involved in the conspiracy and covering that up.
Exactly. The whole tangled mess. Meriet's trauma, his nightmares, his father's coldness driving him to the abbey, his false confession, it all stemmed from Meriet's mistaken act of paternal loyalty, which was itself covering up an act of political assassination committed by his future son-in-law's brother, aided by his own elder son. What a disaster.
The whole family structure just implodes. But amidst the wreckage, Meriet actually finds his redemption, doesn't he?
He does. Janin Lind manages to flee, though not before furiously stabbing Nigel non-fatally, it turns out. Nigel also flees. And Meriet Aspley, he finally confronts his own massive failure. He repents his lifelong coldness towards Meriet, his failure to see his younger son's true worth. He confesses his grievous sin against Meriet.
Meriet.
Meriet is stripped of the black monk's habit, the source says, never fitted or suited him, and he's formally freed from the vows he was basically coerced into taking. And then Leoric names him the true heir to the Aspley manor and lands.
He's released, paradoxically, because his willingness to sacrifice everything his life, his honor, proved this profound, even if totally misplaced, loyalty.
Loyalty to his family, yes. But maybe more importantly, his refusal to lie to God, even under that immense pressure, proved his fundamental integrity. That's what ultimately saves him.
This entire deep dive really pivots on that collision, that ethical dilemma Meriet faced. He was absolutely willing to lie to the secular authorities, to Hugh Beringar, even lie to his fellow monks like Mark. He was ready to accept execution to protect someone else. But he drew a hard line. He would not lie in confession. He wouldn't lie to his priest, and therefore to God.
That was the boundary he wouldn't cross.
So here's where it gets really interesting, I think, for us looking back. In a world like the anarchy, total political chaos, brother turning against brother, truth being almost impossible to find, which form of loyalty do you think ends up being the most costly and maybe the most compelling? Is it that loyalty to family, even when mistaken, loyalty to your secular duty, or that absolute unwavering loyalty Meriet showed in the end only to his spiritual truth?